Hello and welcome everyone. Today we will be discussing the IDSA guidelines on vancomycin used in severe MRSA infections. And today we are joined with Dr. Samir Samal, who will tell us regarding this. And the first question is, what is the dose of vancomycin which is recommended in severe MRSA infections?
Okay. Considering a patient who is suspected of MRSA infection or a diagnosed MRSA infection with a normal renal function and in culture sensitivity reports with MIC of less than 1 milligram per liter, the dose will be 15 to 20 milligram per kg body weight, actual body weight, every 8 to 12 hours.
So the most important question that we always face with vancomycin is, how do we guide the treatment and how will we monitor the dosing of vancomycin?
Actually, there are various pharmacodynamic indices present to assess the dosing and interval of vancomycin. And earlier we used to do trough levels after every third dose to send trough levels and accordingly guide our vancomycin dosages. However, as per the recent guidelines and the studies that we have with us now, it shows that the area under curve is more important than the trough level monitoring. So what here they say is the AUC, the area under curve, AUC by MIC ratio is more important while deciding our dosage. So the target AUC by MIC has to be within 400 to 600 milligram hour per deciliter. Okay, so that gives us better activity and better protection against MRSA infections. It has been found. Now again, there are two ways to calculate this area under curve. The first that we were using earlier, using your first order kinetics depending on the clearance of the vancomycin from blood. Okay, so but again the Neely and their colleagues, they found that the Bayesian statistics, Bayesian software used in various institutes, they give us better idea about the dosages based on the AUC by MIC. Earlier we just went for a trough level monitoring. Trough level monitoring was like a single point level, so that was not very good in predicting. It is not very precise. Now the area under curve using the software, the good thing about Bayesian software is that it has taken several studies, multiple levels of vancomycin in different patients in different dosing patterns, and they have interpreted a pattern, the drug levels pattern, and accordingly created a software using the patient's weight, creatinine levels, and various factors. So mapping using some certain inputs like patient body weight and your the two doses are required to calculate. That has to be input in the software. First is your one blood level has to be collected after the infusion dose of 1 to 2 hours. Second dose has to be collected just before the second dose, that is at the end of the dosing interval. These two levels are again input in the software and the area under curve is calculated. This gives us better idea like how to AUC is better predicted, gives good prediction than the trough levels. Now Lodis and Capasao, they did a study on day 2 levels of AUC by MIC ratio. That ratio, it was found that 400 to 600 day 2, they had very good results in MRSA infections. Suzuki et al, they did a study where they found that levels of AUC by MIC ratio greater than 600 was associated with your renal toxicity. So it was more apt to maintain a levels of AUC by MIC between 400 and 600. Now another study was done by Finch of around 1300 patients, 1280 to be exact. They found that there were using the AUC by MIC ratio, the incidence of AKI was lesser than using trough levels. Okay, so it is better. It is now the recommendations, IDSA recommends to use AUC by MIC rather than trough level for deciding our dosages.
So as you said, is the trough level only monitoring targeting the 15 to 20 milligram per liter still recommended? Because this is something we used to do before.
Yeah, the trough levels was actually used as a surrogate marker for AUC. Basically, what we always wanted was an area under curve. Area under curve because it is gives your idea about over a time. It has multiple levels has been taken. The software has been created, taking multiple readings of aqua level levels and creating a software. So it gives us an idea of vancomycin levels over a period of time, rather than trough levels, which gives us an idea about a particular point of time. Okay, so definitely AUC levels are more recommended now. Earlier, why trough levels were used? Because that software is not available with every hospital, but now it has been made available and every hospital can have access to the software. So it is better that we use AUC rather than trough levels.
Now, how to report a vancomycin susceptibility in culture?
As usual, like normal, we do MIC, minimal inhibitory concentration. So that is used. The problem is here is that MIC has to be considered for vancomycin has to be less than 1. Okay. Now the CLSI, what it does, it allows a error of plus or minus 1. Okay. So what all the methods do, for MIC1 in case of vancomycin, they cannot differentiate between 0.5 and 1 and 2 because CLSI allows that much of error. Okay, so it is less than 1. There are various methods present like e-test, VTEC2, our BD, then ScanFlow. So these, although but they are not very accurate. Okay, so the best method to know the susceptibility is by broth microdilution method. So that has to be less than 1 for good susceptibility. Over these years, we have not seen any MIC creep phenomenon. MIC creep is what? Intermediate levels that is given in susceptibility testing, culture and sensitivity. So we have not seen over so many years and so many studies, we haven't seen MIC creep in case of vancomycin resistant, in case of MRSA infections needing vancomycin. Okay, so there are many tests, but broth microdilution is the best.
Now, there is this controversy regarding whether to give continuous infusion of vancomycin or to give intermittent bolus dosing of vancomycin.
Actually, there are a few studies. There are 2 settings in which these studies have been done regarding the difference between continuous infusion and intermittent infusion. The 2 settings are, one is ICU setting, the other is OP setting. OP setting was mostly used for in patients who are having bone infections, bone and joint infection or skin infections. They received prolonged therapy. And ICU setting, other 7 studies were done. Only one study by Wysocki, they only studied both your efficacy and side effects. Other studies, they just studied some random parameter, but only this study dealt with both. However, all these studies, they basically agree that there is no significant difference in continuous infusion or intermittent infusion. The continuous infusion, in 1 or 2 studies, it has shown that the continuous infusion, the levels necessary for treating MRSA infections, the concentrations are faster achieved in 2 studies. So that is the advantage of continuous infusion. Suppose in severe MRSA infections, very acute MRSA infections, patients having AKI, CKD, where we cannot wait for more than 2 days to achieve our vancomycin concentration of the patient, we may lose our patient. In those patients, it has been seen that continuous infusion helps in achieving faster our steady state concentration rather than your intermittent infusion. And but other studies regarding AKI and all side effects mostly similar in both the groups, continuous infusion and intermittent infusion. And even your efficacy against your MRSA infections, bacteriological clearance and all, they were all similar in both the groups.
Now, should we give a loading dose of vancomycin?
Loading dose is specifically mostly for patients who are in severe MRSA infections and who are having AKI because of your sepsis, and or in patient on intermittent hemodialysis. These patients where there is loss of drug during your dialysis, and patients with very high body weight, actual body weight. The dosing has to be according to actual body weight, as I said earlier, not ideal body weight. So actual body weight the patient is high. So generally in severe acute infection, we cannot wait for 2-3 days to attain the normal vancomycin levels in our blood. So loading dose should be given in these kind of patients where are suspecting severe infection in the patients. Loading dose of around 25 to 20 to 35 mg per kg depending on the actual body weight may be given. Okay, but the problem is not the problem actually. It's some precautionary measures has to be taken. The dilution has to be always less than 5 milligram per ml, and the dosing has to be given at more than 1 hour. If you are planning to give any loading dose, you can give maximum up to 10 to 15 milligram per minute,
Not more.
not more than that.
Now, as you said regarding the actual body weight, is there any difference in dosing for obese patients?
We don't have any guarantees, RCTs or studies definitely doing this, but seeing whatever studies are present, and it is most sensible to give doses according to seeing the various AUC curves over the time, over the various studies. It is most sensible to give a higher dose, and the dosing should be based according to actual body weight. And the dosing of the vancomycin depends upon your actual body weight and also on the volume of distribution. Now the volume of distribution actually increases with weight, actual body weight of the patient. But the pharmacokinetics of the drug, that doesn't change according to your body weight of the patient. That is fixed. So based on this, the loading dose of around 1500 to 2500 milligram is needed for patients with weight of 80 to 100 kgs. For 100 to 120 kgs, a dose of 2000 to 3000, and for weights above more than 120 kgs, we need a loading dose of 2500 to 3000 milligrams. Now the maintenance dose for these patients, it is calculated based on the clearance of the drug. So the clearance of the drug is generally, it is for vancomycin is 6 liter per hour. Based on this, the maximum maintenance dose will be around 3 gram per day. Okay. Now for actual body weight, if it goes on increasing, there are chances that the clearance will be higher. Okay, because the volume of distribution changes, but the pharmacokinetic does not. So, but however, whatever may be the cause, it is seen that it cannot be more. The clearance cannot be more than 9 gram per liter. So that is why. So a maximum dose of 4500 has been recommended for maintenance dose.
Now, as we know, renal failure is very common in patients with severe infections, and vancomycin can also cause renal failure. So, what is the recommended dose in patients who are on intermittent hemodialysis?
So, earlier they used pre-dialysis level concentration to set the target of the dosage of vancomycin needed. So, now what they are doing, they are using that, but they now want to also put in the AUC curve. Whatever you may use the whichever formula, our final target should be AUC by MIC ratio of 400 to 600. So instead of only using pre-dialysis levels, they are targeting the AUC by MIC using the software. It was seen that the dialysis filters used earlier, there was a difference between dialysis earlier and now. Earlier the filters used to be less permeable to vancomycin. It was like that the vancomycin was not at all dialysable. However, now the membranes that are being used for dialysis, they are more permeable to vancomycin. So there is a loss of vancomycin from our circulation. So newer dialysis methods, they demand higher dose rather than your reduced dose. Now newer methods like the new dialysis membranes, because they give off vancomycin, we may need a loading dose of 20 to 25 in different settings. I will tell now. Like earlier, weekly dialysis. Generally, dialysis patients who are on CKD, they need weekly thrice dialysis. Earlier, they used to give a single dose within the 3 days. But now higher doses are being. Generally, they have seen more than 25% more than the normal dosage is required based on the current dialysis. Suppose we see this also depends on the timing of the dose. Like sometimes we prefer to give the dose intra-dialysis, and sometimes we prefer to give the dose before dialysis. So the gap between your dosing and dialysis also
Will
change our dosages, and the filters, the filter permeability, and also but the dialysis patients, after receiving the dialysis complete, they do not stay back in the dialysis setting. They go away to their ward or home or wherever, unless it is a bedside dialysis. So they prefer to give the vancomycin dose in the last 60 to 90 minutes of the dialysis session. So again, that can lead to loss of drug from your dialysis membrane. So again, higher doses will be necessary. So there are two settings, like suppose we give the dose pre-HD. Pre-HD, if we are giving with a low permeable membrane, we can give a loading dose of 10 mg per kg and a maintenance dose of 7.5 mg per kg. Now, if we are using high permeable membranes, then we can give a maintenance dose of 10 mg per kg. Now, suppose we are giving the drug during the dialysis, during the last 60 to 90 minutes of dialysis. At that time, the loading dose needs to be increased to 25 to 30 mg per kg. If the low permeable, then we give maintenance dose of 7.5 to 10. And if it is high permeable, we can give 10 to 15 mg per kg maintenance.
Now, what is the dosing in SLED dialysis?
In SLED also it is mostly similar only. It is longer duration. The problem with SLED is that SLED is generally done for 12 hours in the settings. So the dosing gap is reduced. We cannot give a TDS dose. Generally, we have to give a BD dose. So in them, you have to give a loading dose of around 20 to 25 mg per kg and followed by a 15 mg by kg maintenance at the end of your dialysis.
Now, finally, what is the dose in for patients who are on continuous renal replacement therapy?
The continuous renal replacement therapy is that the patient is always, the extracorporeal circulation is taking place. Okay, so in these patients, the dosing has to be depends on your effluent flow. Okay, and depends on the clearance, on the dialysate flow, ultrafiltrate. Conventional dosing, they do not attain our desired levels. So loading dose of around 20 to 25 kg per body weight is used. Now considering the effluent rates of around 20 to 25 ml per kg per hour, so maintenance dose of 7.5 to 10 mg per kg is sufficient to maintain our desired levels of vancomycin. So basically all these guidelines, they want to maintain a target of AUC by MIC ratio of 400 to 600. That is their main target. You calculate, take the variables like the concentration levels. Okay, in like in the starting I said 2 levels have to be taken. One after 2 hours of the infusion, first dose, and then one is prior to the second dose. That is at the end of the dosing interval. These 2 levels have to be input. Now for like in dialysis, we have to take in the continuous infusion, we take steady state concentration is taken. Okay, but in case of intermittent, trough levels are taken. Those have to be input. Then in case of dialysis, serum concentration before dialysis has to be measured. This data has to be input and your AUC will be calculated by the software. AUC by MIC ratio has to be maintained within 400 to 600 anyhow. That will give us the best results. But this is all only if MIC is less than equal to 1. Now there was a study of around 5,000 strains, around some 55 studies were taken, a meta-analysis was done, and they found that the MIC is less than 1, a meta-analysis study of all the vancomycin, all the susceptible results of all the studies. MIC was mostly in 90% of cases it was less than 1. Now, if the MIC is more than 1, this conventional dosing will not achieve your adequate AUC by MIC ratio. Okay, in that you have to change your dosing, you may need higher dosing. That will be derived from the software. Okay, so basically the guidelines they say to maintain a AUC by MIC ratio 400 to 600 milligram hour per liter. So that is the target.
Thank you, Dr. Samir, for sharing the vancomycin guidelines with us.